Summary of Electra by Sophocles. Orestes, Pylades, and an ancient slave arrive at the palace of Mycenae, and the slave points out the city and tells how Orestes abandoned it long ago. Orestes' father, Agamemnon, was killed many years ago, and Orestes' sister, Electra, gave the baby Orestes to the old slave. The old slave took care of Orestes like he was his own son and brought him up to get payback for the death of his father. Now, says the old slave, it's time for Orestes to do something. Orestes has a plan. Before going to Mycenae, he went to the Delphic oracle, where Apollo's words were read. By lone deceit and stealthy craft, blood must be shed and victory won, the oracle said. Orestes says that the old slave will go to the palace, where he won't be recognized because of his age, and tell everyone that Orestes died in a chariot accident during the Pythian Games. The slave will also bring along an urn made of metal and say that it holds the ashes of Orestes. The sound of a woman crying comes from inside the house all of a sudden. The old slave wonders if it's Electra and says they should stop and listen, but Orestes says they have to go to Agamemnon's grave first. As Orestes, Pylades, and the old slave head to Agamemnon's grave, Electra comes out of the house. Since her mother, Clytemnestra, and her mother's husband, Aegisthus, killed her father, she has been sad day and night. Electra says that she is like a bird and that she will always cry out of sadness. She asks the gods that the dread Furies punish the people who killed Agamemnon and that her brother, Orestes, will come back. As Electra is crying, a group of Mycenaean women come to cheer her up. They ask what good it will do to keep mourning since it won't bring Agamemnon back to life. Electra says that it's a child's job to remember a parent who has died. Also, Electra has to live with the people who killed her father, even though they hurt her and treat her like a slave. While Electra is sad, her sister Chrysothemis comes up to her and tells her to stop being so angry. Chrysothemis hates Clytemnestra and Aegisthus just as much as she hates Agamemnon, but it does more harm than good to make them angry by crying in public about Agamemnon. She tells Electra that Aegisthus wants to hide her alive in a cave if she doesn't stop crying in public, but Electra isn't scared and says she'll do anything to honor her father's memory. Chrysothemis said that Clytemnestra had a dream where Agamemnon was still alive. He hit the fire with his stick, and a big branch of a tree grew that covered the whole city of Mycenae. The dream scared Clytemnestra, so she told Chrysothemis to bring drinks to Agamemnon's grave. Electra says that would be wrong. She tells her sister to bury the gifts far from where their dad is buried. As Chrysothemis goes to hide the gifts, the chorus makes it sound like justice must have been what caused Clytemnestra's nightmare. Clytemnestra, who is on her way to give gifts to the gods, comes up to Electra and scolds her for being bad. She knows that Electra hates her because she killed Agamemnon, but Clytemnestra doesn't care much. Agamemnon had given their daughter Iphigenia to the goddess Artemis as an offering. When Clytemnestra killed Agamemnon to get revenge for her daughter, she was on the side of justice. Electra says that Agamemnon killed a stag in Artemis's sacred grove and made a foolish brag about it. As a result, he had to kill Iphigenia to make Artemis happy. Electra also says that Clytemnestra didn't kill Agamemnon just to get revenge for Iphigenia. Instead, she did it because she wanted Aegisthus and wanted to rule Mycenae without Agamemnon. Electra says that it doesn't matter if justice was on Clytemnestra's side because there's nothing more shameful than murdering someone. Clytemnestra prays to Apollo that her enemies will be hurt and that she and her children, who don't hate her, will be able to keep living well. The old slave suddenly shows up and says he is a message from Phocis. He says that a terrible chariot accident has killed Orestes. Electra is devastated and says that if Orestes is dead, she might as well be dead too. As Clytemnestra calls the old slave inside, she tells him that nothing can make a mother hate her own child. Electra stays crying outside the house, and Chrysothemis runs back to her in a hurry. She has been to the grave of Agamemnon and seen that there are new drinks there. She says that Orestes must be back. But Electra tells her sister that Orestes is dead and that whoever put new gifts on Agamemnon's grave must have done so in memory of Orestes. Electra says that they have no friends and that Orestes won't come back, so they have to kill Aegisthus themselves. Chrysothemis says that Electra has gone crazy because she is a woman and not a guy, so she couldn't have killed Aegisthus. Chrysothemis says they have no chance of winning, but Electra says they can't give up. As Chrysothemis goes back into the palace, Orestes comes up with Pylades holding the copper urn and asks Electra where Aegisthus's house is. Electra asks him if he has the box with Orestes' ashes in it, and he says that he does. Electra talks sad words to the urn as she cradles it, but Orestes surprised her by telling her not to be sad because he isn't in the urn. He shows Electra a ring with Agamemnon's seal on it to prove that he is still alive, and they hug. She starts to feel happy, but he tells her it's not time to party yet. The old slave leaves the house and says that Clytemnestra is by herself. Time has come. The chorus is left outside while everyone else goes into the house. Soon, Electra is back outside. She says that she is watching for Aegisthus to come so that he doesn't catch them by surprise. My child, please help your mother." From inside the house, Clytemnestra screams, and Electra yells back, telling Orestes to hit Clytemnestra again. Orestes, Pylades, and the old slave leave the palace with blood on their hands, and Orestes tells Electra that all is well inside the palace. The chorus can see that Aegisthus is coming closer, so they tell the men to go back inside before they get caught. "I can take care of everything here," says Electra, and the guys sneak into the palace quietly. As soon as Aegisthus gets close, he tells Electra that he has heard that Orestes has died and asks where the people who told him are. Electra tells him that they are inside with Clytemnestra and that they have won their way to her heart. Aegisthus tells the house doors to be opened so that everyone in Mycenae can see Orestes' body. Orestes walks out of the house with Clytemnestra's body, which is wrapped in a shroud. As Aegisthus takes off the shroud to look at the body, he tells Electra to go find Clytemnestra. "No need to look," says Electra. "She's there already." Aegisthus starts to scream when he realizes he's stuck. Orestes says that he is the son of Agamemnon and tells Aegisthus to come into the house. Aegisthus begs Orestes to say something in his defense, but Electra stops him and tells Orestes to kill Aegisthus right away and leave his body for the dogs and birds. Orestes takes Aegisthus into the castle, right to the spot where Aegisthus killed Agamemnon a long time ago. Electra stays outside with the chorus, who are happy that her long pain is finally over.
About the author. Sophocles was born into a wealthy family in Hippios Colonus, a small town in Attica, Greece. Attica is an area on the Attic Peninsula near the Aegean Sea. Sophocles' father, Sophilus, was a successful armor maker, and Sophocles grew up in a pretty good situation near Athens, the capital city. We don't know much about Sophocles' early life, but we do know that around 470 BCE, he started to participate in the Dionysia, a big festival held every year in Athens to honor Dionysus, the god of wine and theater. At the end of the festival, a number of plays were put on, and a group of judges chose the winners in the categories of tragedy and comedy. Sophocles first joined the competition at the Dionysia in 470 BCE. In 468, he won first place, beating out Aeschylus, another Greek playwright and the father of tragedy. Sophocles took part in 30 events over the course of his career. He won first place 24 times and never got lower than second. Sophocles won more events than anyone else of his time, including Aeschylus and Euripides, who were both well-known ancient Greek tragedians. Sophocles is said to have written more than 120 plays, but only 7 of them still exist today. These include Electra, which he wrote near the end of his work, Antigone, Oedipus Rex, and Philoctetes. Sophocles was very popular at the Dionysia, which led to him being chosen for many roles in Greek society and government. In 480 BCE, after the Greeks beat the Persians at the Battle of Salamis, he was chosen to lead the Paean, a poem of thanks and celebration. Sophocles was made the treasurer of Athena in 443 and an official judge in 413 to help the Greeks deal with their crushing loss in Sicily during the Peloponnesian War. Sophocles did not stop writing, though, even though he held these official positions. His contributions to Western thought and society are invaluable. Sophocles is known as the first writer to add a third character to a scene and make the chorus less important. He was also the first to use skenographia, or scene painting, to improve the staging of his plays. Sophocles is known for his complicated character growth and conflicts. In 405 BCE, when he was 91 or 92 years old, he won his last first place at the Dionysia. He died that same year, but there are different stories about what killed him. Some say he choked on a grape, others say he was too tired to finish reciting Antigone, and still, others say he died of happiness after his last win at the Dionysia.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.